12th day of the nationwide lockdown today. People across the country have greatly supported the government's lockdown strategy so far, which is one of the most effective ways to battle the coronavirus epidemic. Meanwhile, on a sadder note, the global death toll has exceeded over 59,000, while the number of 220,000 infected individuals have recovered from the virus. Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanama, and these are the top stories of the hour. The government decision to grant medical equipment deal to Nepal Army without holding a single cabinet meeting flayed. Experts opine Premier Oli has set up a controversial precedent. Government intensifies collection of swab samples to test coronavirus. After 92 swab samples on Thursday, over 100 additional samples to be collected from Sudur Paschim alone. Australia urges all international students to return to their respective countries. One of Asia's largest slums in Mumbai reports its first coronavirus death, sparking fears of epidemic. And global death toll due to coronavirus crosses 59,000. US reports the highest 1,321 deaths in a day, followed by France with 1,120. The government has been flayed for handing over the responsibility of purchasing medical equipment to test coronavirus to Nepal Army, despite the presence of a separate health mechanism and the Health Ministry. The Defence Ministry directed the Army for the procurement without a cabinet meeting on the issue. The breach of jurisdiction by Defence Ministry has raised questions on the government's modus operandi. The procurement agenda was not included in the cabinet meeting held on 29th of March. The only substantial decision that the cabinet had taken in the last meeting was on the relief packages for daily wage and other workers whose financial status was severely affected by the lockdown. However, Ministry of Defence issued an official letter on 1st of April stating that the cabinet on the very same day had awarded Nepal Army with the G2G or government-to-government procurement deal. Meanwhile, Nepal Army has begun estimating the quantity of health materials required to proceed with the procurement. It has been now confirmed that the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli cancelled the deal struck by Health Ministry with the controversial OBCI group following revelations of massive corruption involved. The decision to grant the procurement deal to Nepal Army has, however, increased chances of demoralizing the administrative mechanism and giving way to prospects of Nepal Army dominating government's administrative affairs. The government has also been criticized for its inability to take action against the faulty parties for their involvement in large-scale corruption at this time of national crisis triggered by global coronavirus pandemic. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, meanwhile, has established a highly dubious precedent of cancelling a deal previously awarded to a ministry without even consulting his cabinet. Now, the government has begun collecting large number of swab samples to test for coronavirus infection. The government collected 92 swab samples from several quarantine zones in Sudur Paschim province on Thursday and is preparing to collect more than 100 additional samples. A 10-member team of doctors from Nepal Army in coordination with the Health Ministry was sent to Kailali and Kantipur to collect the samples. The 92 samples collected on Thursday were flown to the capital on a sky truck the same day. The government has expedited tests as a large number of Nepali nationals returned to the region from India and other countries in recent days. According to Army officials, at least 2 samples will be collected from every quarantine zones. Based on the border records, around 150,000 Nepali nationals returned from various cities in India to Sudur Paschim province. The government of Nepal made it mandatory for all these Nepali nationals to stay in quarantine for at least 2 weeks. However, majority of the individuals have already returned home. At a press conference held yesterday, spokesperson for Health Ministry Bikash Devkota said the government is now able to carry out more tests as well-equipped laboratories to test for COVID-19 have been established in all the provinces. Meanwhile, swab samples of 96 individuals staying in quarantine at Bhaktapur's Kharipati have also been collected to test for COVID-19 infection. Now, it's the 12th day of the nationwide lockdown today. Mobility in Kathmandu Valley, along with other cities and highways in the country, has been largely restricted in a bid to contain the possible COVID-19 outbreak in the country. The police have been inquiring public who are seen walking in the streets defying the lockdown and are also held up for defying the lockdown for up to 2 hours. Meanwhile, ambulances, media vehicles and vehicles carrying water, milk, food supply among others have been allowed to run during the lockdown. Now, the Finance Ministry has put on hold budget allocated under 14 different headings considering the ongoing coronavirus crisis. The ministry has directed all concerned central units not to spend money on vehicle purchase, furniture, machine and equipment, land acquisition, monitoring and evaluation works, investigation and consultations for capital investment, among others. Meanwhile, the ongoing 21-day lockdown in India has affected Nepal's revenue collection. The government collected 106.8 million rupees in revenue until yesterday. The overall revenue collected so far has not met even half of the government's targeted amount for the ongoing fiscal. This has hampered the government's efforts towards managing the resources. The Finance Ministry has said that it was compelled to put on hold the budget for the 14 headings to compensate for the expenses to prevent an outbreak of coronavirus, among others. However, the ministry says the recent directive is not applicable for headings that were either pending or the ones that have already called for their bids until 2nd of April. Welcome back. The government had kept 181 Nepali nationals from 24 different districts in makeshift quarantine at Jammu border transit for 5 days to prevent coronavirus spread after they had arrived from India. However, despite nationwide lockdown and mandatory quarantine, the government's attempt to avoid an outbreak is still challenged. Many people are sneaking into the Nepalese side through secret transits at Bake, Bardia, Kailali and Kantipur districts. 181 Nepali nationals have been stranded at the Jammu border transit as the government closed borders with India to prevent an outbreak of coronavirus. The government's attempt to send these Nepali nationals back has also failed, as they said they would prefer to rather stay in their own country than return to India. They are provided with temporary spaces for quarantine. However, the lack of drinking water and health services has further complicated things.
यहाँ नेपालमा जो महानगरपालिकाको सहयोग भरपूर रहने हामीले वचन पाएका छौं र स्पेशल निकाय त यहाँ खटिने भयो.
These Nepali individuals were allowed to enter the Nepalese side by the Indian border security as the government of Nepal and India agreed to impose self-quarantine rules and close borders. The government of Nepal is making temporary arrangements for these Nepali nationals after being stranded for 5 days. Meanwhile, the government's effort to maintain security has been challenged as many individuals are entering the country through secret border transits. There have been reports of many individuals sneaking into the Nepalese territory at night time. Local level administrations at border regions have urged the Indian border security officials to take matters more seriously and keep the borders closed round the clock.
नेपाल तथा भारतको दुवै सिडिओ तथा डीएम लेभलको मिटिङहरुबाट पटक पटक कोर्डिनेट गर्दाखेरि पनि उहाँहरुलाई उता सेटल गर्नलाई नसकेको अवस्था, क्वारेन्टाइनमा राख्नको लागि त्यसपछि तयार हुँदा हुँदै पनि उहाँहरु जानलाई अनिच्छुक भएको अवस्थामा अहिले चाहिँ नेपाली सेनाको हाम्रो यो भैरप्रसाद गण बाँकीमा तैनात टोलीले चाहिँ हामीसँग भएको स्थानीय रिसोर्सेस टेन्ट म्यानेजमेन्ट गरेर उहाँहरुलाई चाहिँ यो बोर्डरमा आईसीपी यो एरियामा चाहिँ सेटल गर्नलाई चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ खटेका छौं.
There is a strict call for all officials at border transits to ensure the implementation of the ongoing nationwide lockdown. Asian Development Bank has projected an economic growth of 5.3% for Nepal in the ongoing fiscal year. ADB has stated Nepal will have a 5.3% economic growth this fiscal and 6.4% the next, despite the expected impact of coronavirus crisis on the country's economic activities. ADB's projection for Nepal is the highest for any country in all of South Asia. ADB has also projected a 4.1% growth for the South Asian economy this year and 6% for the next. The Nepal government had aimed at achieving an 8.5% growth in the ongoing fiscal year, which is a 1.4% more than that of last year. As per the Asian Development Outlook prepared by ADB, by analyzing the impact of coronavirus pandemic, Nepal will experience an inflation of 6%. Likewise, ADB has projected a 2.3% economic growth for China, where the coronavirus originated. Welcome back. It has been confirmed that one Nepalese citizen who had participated in a Muslim congregation at Nizamuddin in New Delhi has been tested positive with coronavirus. To talk more on this and give more details, we have our New Delhi correspondent Suresh Nupani. We are trying to contact him. Suresh, if you can hear us, can you give us more update on it? Suresh, can you hear us? There seems to be a technical problem. We'll try and reach out to Suresh Neupani one more time. But for now, it's time for our Public Pulse segment.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, what's your take on the decision to assign Nepal Army with the procurement of essential medical equipment? Your options are A, emergency management, B, inability of civil administration, and C, result of nexus. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Now, as mentioned earlier, it has been confirmed that one Nepali national who had attended a Muslim congregation in New Delhi, Nizamuddin, has tested positive for coronavirus. To give us more information on this, we have our New Delhi correspondent, Suresh Neupani. Suresh, if you can hear us, could you give more details on it?
Yeah, there has been a huge surge in the corona cases in the last few days in India. And after that, the Indian authorities have started searching the different places to trace the people who participated in this Nizamuddin, that markaz, we could say the public is that gathering. And during one of the search operation which was being made in Haryana's Ambala last week, then police has recovered some 11 people who participated in the Nizamuddin gathering, and out of them, eight were identified as Nepali citizens, and they have been taken to the quarantine, and some of them were having some symptoms of the corona, and out of some 3 people, they were kept in the isolation, and one of them, the report of one of the Nepali being tested positive, and he has been identified as from the district of Parsa district, and 66 years old.
And Suresh, do you have more details on the status of the person who has contracted the coronavirus infection?
And I have talked to the chief medical officer of that Ambala district. He told me that the condition of that infected person is stable, and he is under the isolation in one of the hospitals in Ambala.
Suresh, can you give us more detail on how the Indian government is trying to search or trace down more of the participants of the congregation, including Nepali nationals also?
Yeah, the Indian authorities seems very worried about, because of the number of cases which were being traced in last few days. Most of them have the link to this Nizamuddin gathering. So the Indian authorities and the authorities have started tracing the railways by which all these participants travel to different parts of India, and they have started the search operation in the different states also. As I came to know that even in the UP and Tamil Nadu, the people who were identified, who were tested the corona, they have the link. They have gone from this gathering.
Thank you for joining us, Suresh. Thank you for the information. That was Suresh Neupani, our New Delhi correspondent, informing us that one Nepali national who had attended a congregation between 13th to 15th of March in the Nizamuddin in New Delhi has contracted novel coronavirus, and the individual is a 66-year-old person from Parsa district of Nepal. And that's all for the moment. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on Kantipur TV HD. Good day and stay safe.